Imagine earning $80,000 a year and still struggling to afford a basic lifestyle. In many major US cities, that's the new reality. With median home prices exceeding $800,000 and rents soaring past $3,000 per month, the financial pressure on middle-income families is mounting. Essentials like childcare, transportation, and groceries continue to rise, while wages remain relatively stagnant. As a result, the once stable middle class is being priced out, forced to relocate or downgrade just to stay afloat. In this video, we're counting down 10 US cities where the middle class is vanishing fast. Number 10. Orlando, Florida. Orlando might be home to fairy tales and fireworks, but for the city's middle class, it's starting to feel more like a financial nightmare. Sure, it's still the happiest place on earth for tourists, but behind the Cinderella castle, there's a real-life struggle happening, and it's not being broadcast on a parade float. Over the last few years, Orlando's cost of living has skyrocketed, pushing middle-income earners to the edge. Median home prices in the Orlando metro area have hit over $410,000 as of early 2025, while the median household income sits around $65,000. That's a price-to-income ratio of more than 6 to 1, way above the national comfort zone of 3 to 1. Translation? The math isn't mathing for the middle class anymore. And it's not just housing. Groceries, gas, car insurance, everything costs more here. Florida's lack of state income tax might sound appealing, but it's being offset by high property taxes and ballooning utility bills. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, consumer prices in Orlando rose nearly 6.8% year over year, well above the national average. And renters? Buckle up. The average rent for a two-bedroom apartment now exceeds $2,100 per month, which eats up more than 38% of an average household's pre-tax income. Jobs aren't keeping pace either. The city's economy relies heavily on tourism, retail, and service sectors, which are notorious for low wages. Many hospitality workers earn just $12 to $16 per hour, even as they serve vacationers spending thousands. And while there's been a tech and healthcare boom, it hasn't been enough to lift the entire middle-income bracket. Orlando's wealth gap is widening fast. Between 2020 and 2024, the percentage of middle-income households shrank by over 6%, while both low-income and high-income brackets grew. So, while the fireworks light up the sky over Disney, a growing number of Orlando's residents are quietly packing up, searching for somewhere they can afford to build a future. Middle-class magic? It's fading fast in the city beautiful. Absolutely. Here's the continuation of your video script. Each city explained in exactly 350 words with a friendly, fun, and unique style, packed with numeric data and stats to keep your viewers hooked. Number 9. Denver, Colorado. Once hailed as the perfect blend of urban life and natural wonder, Denver is now pricing its middle class right out of the Rockies. Back in 2010, Denver was a rising star for affordability and outdoor lifestyle. But fast forward to 2025, and it's a whole new economic climate, one where even longtime locals feel like tourists in their own city. The median home price in Denver has hovered around $565,000 this year, which is more than 8 times the median household income of $67,000. That's no small stretch for families trying to afford both a mortgage and a ski pass. It's not just real estate. Denver's inflation has outpaced national averages in groceries, healthcare, and transportation. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, food prices alone in the Denver-Aurora metro area rose 9.1% from last year. Renters aren't escaping either. The average monthly rent has climbed to over $2,300 for a modest two-bedroom unit. The result? A disappearing middle class that once made Denver vibrant and diverse. You'd think job growth might save the day, but even Denver's strong tech and startup scene isn't lifting all boats. While some folks in cybersecurity or engineering are thriving, the retail, education, and public service workers are struggling to keep up. The Denver Office of Economic Development reported a 5.6% drop in middle-income households since 2019. Meanwhile, luxury condos are rising like wildflowers, and tent cities are growing under the I-25 overpasses. Locals now joke that Denver used to be for dreamers, now it's for developers. And there's truth in that. Many middle-class families are fleeing to suburbs like Aurora, Littleton, or even leaving the state entirely in search of relief. The stunning views haven't changed, but for the average working family, affording life in the mile-high city is no longer a peak, it's a cliff. And more people are realizing they just can't afford to stay at the top. Number 8. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix isn't just scorching in temperature, it's also on fire, with sky-high housing costs and shrinking middle-class opportunities. Once a safe haven for affordability, Phoenix is quickly turning into a cautionary tale. The median home price here has spiked to nearly $460,000 in 2025, up from just $240,000 a decade ago. Meanwhile, the median household income lags behind at around $70,000. That's a price-to-income ratio of nearly 6.6. Yikes! The Valley of the Sun has experienced explosive population growth, adding over 1.2 million new residents to the metro area since 2010. While that sounds like economic gold, it's caused home prices, rents, and utility costs to skyrocket. In fact, Phoenix recently ranked among the top 10 U.S. cities for fastest rent increases, with the average rent now exceeding $2,000 per month. For families trying to pay off debt or save for the future, it's become a daily struggle. And here's the kicker. While Phoenix has seen job growth in tech, logistics, and healthcare, wages aren't keeping up. Many middle-income earners work in sectors like retail, education, or public safety, where salary increases have been minimal. Meanwhile, housing prices and insurance premiums are climbing faster than an Arizona dust storm. Add in rising electricity bills. Phoenix households pay over $160 per month on average for cooling alone, and the budget pressure is intense. The result? More than 7% of Phoenix's middle class has evaporated in the past 5 years. According to recent census data, middle-income neighborhoods are giving way to either luxury developments or struggling rental zones. Families who once proudly owned homes are now downsizing or moving to cities like Tucson or Las Vegas to stay afloat. Phoenix may shine under the sun, but for the middle class, it's become a place where dreams melt faster than an ice cream cone in July. The heat isn't just in the air, it's in the bills, the rent, and the pressure to survive. Number 7. Miami, Florida. At first glance, Miami is a sun-soaked dream filled with ocean views, vibrant culture, and non-stop nightlife. But behind the glamour of South Beach and the pastel-painted Art Deco skyline, middle-class families are fighting to stay afloat. In 2025, the median home price in Miami has surged to an eye-popping $575,000, while the median household income is only about $60,000. That's a staggering 9.5 to 1 home price-to-income ratio, among the worst in the nation. Living in paradise isn't cheap, and for many, it's becoming downright impossible. Rent in Miami has exploded. A basic 2-bedroom apartment now rents for more than $2,700 a month, and property insurance has skyrocketed due to flood risks and hurricanes. In fact, Florida has some of the highest homeowners insurance premiums in the country, averaging over $4,200 annually in Miami-Dade County. And if you're driving to work, buckle up. Auto insurance here averages $3,400 a year. Jobs aren't helping much either. Miami's economy leans heavily on tourism, hospitality, and service industries, where average wages range from $14 to $20 per hour. Even with a second job, many families struggle to afford rent, groceries, and utilities. Meanwhile, wealthier transplants from New York and California are buying up luxury condos in cash, driving up prices and reshaping entire neighborhoods. Between 2020 and 2024, census data shows Miami lost nearly 8% of its middle-income households. The rise of luxury everything is pushing longtime residents out, with many relocating to nearby cities like Homestead or heading north to Orlando or Tampa. The iconic Miami lifestyle is starting to feel like a gated fantasy for the ultra-rich, with the middle class stuck outside the velvet rope. So yes, Miami still has gorgeous beaches and buzzing nightlife, but for regular folks trying to raise a family, it's more stress than sunshine. In the Magic City, the trick seems to be making the middle class disappear. Number 6. Austin, Texas. Austin used to be the cool, quirky Texas city where you could catch live music on a Tuesday, eat world-class barbecue for under $10, and still afford a house near downtown. Not anymore. The "keep Austin weird" vibe is fading fast as high prices push the middle class out. In 2025, Austin's median home price has hit a stunning $520,000, while the median household income lags at around $79,000. That's a price-to-income ratio of 6.5, making it one of the least affordable cities in Texas for middle-income families. The blame? Tech giants. Ever since Tesla, Oracle, and other big tech players set up shop in Austin, the city's economy exploded. But so did the cost of living. While engineers and remote workers from the Bay Area thrive on six-figure salaries, longtime locals in teaching, law enforcement, or small businesses are being priced out of their own neighborhoods. Rent has jumped to an average of $2,300 for a modest two-bedroom apartment. Even groceries and gas feel expensive in what used to be a budget-friendly city. Food prices in Travis County have risen 8.3% in just a year, and water bills are now among the highest in Texas due to infrastructure stress. More than 20% of renters in Austin now spend over half their income on housing, according to recent census data. The quirky neighborhoods that once gave Austin its soul, like East Austin and South Congress, are being bulldozed for high-end condos and wine bars. Between 2019 and 2024, the city saw a 7% drop in middle-income households. Many locals are escaping to surrounding towns like Bastrop, Kyle, or even Waco for relief. So yes, the live music still rocks and the tacos still slap. But the middle class? They're being pushed further from the stage every year. In the new Austin, the price of cool is too hot to handle for everyday families. Number 5. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit's story is both iconic and tragic. A city that once defined America's middle class is now a glaring example of how quickly that status can vanish. Back in its heyday, Detroit was the Motor City, where a solid factory job could buy you a house, a car, and a ticket to the American dream. Fast forward to 2025, and Detroit has lost a staggering 65.4% of its population since its peak in the 1950s. The median home price may seem affordable, around $83,000, but that's only part of the picture. The median household income in Detroit is just $37,000, one of the lowest for any major U.S. city. Nearly 30% of residents live below the poverty line. For many families, economic survival is a daily grind. Decades of industrial decline, municipal bankruptcy, and underinvestment have hollowed out middle-income jobs. Education and infrastructure remain major challenges. Public schools in Detroit are underfunded, and many neighborhoods still struggle with crime and access to basic services. While there's been a recent wave of downtown revitalization, thanks to projects like the Q Line and new businesses moving in, it hasn't done much for Detroit's working families. In fact, many feel priced out of the new development, with rising rent in revitalized areas like Midtown and Corktown. Meanwhile, public transportation is limited, making it hard for workers without cars to commute. And job opportunities in healthcare, logistics, and small tech startups just haven't filled the void left by auto manufacturing. Between 2020 and 2024, Detroit lost another 6% of its remaining middle-income households. People are resilient here, but survival is tough. Some are moving to nearby suburbs like Warren or Livonia, but for many, the American dream has stalled. Detroit isn't just losing residents, it's losing its middle. And that's a wound that takes more than a new stadium or startup to heal. Number 4. Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, home of deep dish pizza, skyline views, and legendary neighborhoods. But for the middle class? It's becoming more like a wind tunnel of disappearing dreams. In 2025, the median home price in Chicago sits around $360,000, but that's only part of the puzzle. Property taxes are among the highest in the nation, averaging 2.16% annually, which means many homeowners fork over $7,500 plus per year in taxes alone. Add to that a median household income of roughly $65,000, and you've got a middle-class squeeze between housing costs, high utility bills, and ever-rising food prices. Chicago's consumer prices rose 6.2% last year, and the average rent now hovers around $2,200 for a two-bedroom apartment in neighborhoods that used to be affordable. Education, healthcare, and transportation are all getting more expensive too. And while the city's job market is strong in finance, healthcare, and tech, it's not enough to keep up with inflation for teachers, retail workers, or city employees. According to the University of Illinois, the number of middle-income households in Chicago shrank by nearly 9% between 2018 and 2024. Meanwhile, gentrification is transforming classic Chicago neighborhoods like Pilsen, Logan Square, and Bronzeville. Longtime residents are getting priced out by high-end developers and luxury apartments. People who grew up on the south or west side are moving out to the suburbs, if they can afford to stay at all. Crime and public safety concerns add to the exodus. Chicago saw nearly 20,000 incidents of violent crime in 2024, and while downtown areas are heavily patrolled, working-class neighborhoods still struggle with resources. Families seeking safety and stability are moving to Indiana, Wisconsin, or the outer suburbs of Illinois. The truth is, the middle class built Chicago, but they're being quietly pushed out of the city they helped shape. The architecture still inspires, but for thousands of working families, the cost of staying has become too steep to bear. Number 3. Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles might be the land of movie stars and influencers, but for the everyday middle-class family, it's turning into a financial horror film. In 2025, the median home price in LA is a staggering $840,000, and the median household income only around $74,000. That's an 11.3 to 1 home price to income ratio, nearly quadruple the national average. It's no wonder that over 60% of residents rent, and nearly half of those are considered rent-burdened, meaning they spend more than 30% of their income on housing. Rents are through the roof, literally. A two-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles now averages over $2,900 per month, and even studio apartments in less trendy neighborhoods like Van Nuys or Boyle Heights can exceed $2,000. Add in sky-high gas prices, over $5.80 per gallon, electricity bills that average $140 per month, and you've got a cost-of-living cocktail that's hard to swallow. The job market doesn't offer much relief. While LA is booming in entertainment and tech, many middle-income earners work in healthcare, education, logistics, and hospitality, sectors where wages have failed to keep up. A registered nurse makes about $90,000 a year here, which might sound decent until you realize how far that stretches with local costs. And the traffic, brutal. Commuters often lose over 100 hours a year sitting in gridlock. That's unpaid time just trying to survive. Meanwhile, homelessness has reached crisis levels. Over 75,000 people are currently homeless in LA County, many of whom were once part of the middle class before being priced out. From 2019 to 2024, the middle-income population in LA shrank by over 10%. Many residents are fleeing to cities like Las Vegas, Phoenix, or even Texas to find relief. The palm trees and sunsets remain, but the dream is slipping through the fingers of everyday families. In LA, the spotlight still shines, but the middle class? They're getting pushed off stage. Number 2. New York City, New York. New York City has always been intense, but in 2025, surviving as a middle-class New Yorker feels like an Olympic event. Median home prices in NYC have climbed past $780,000, and median household income sits around $75,000. That's a jaw-dropping 10.4 to 1 ratio, and for renters, who make up nearly two-thirds of the city, it's no better. Average rent in Manhattan now exceeds $4,300 per month, while even boroughs like Queens and Brooklyn demand well over $3,000. How are people affording this? Many aren't. More than 51% of renters in NYC are rent-burdened, according to the NYU Furman Center. And let's not even talk about childcare. A full-time daycare spot costs over $21,000 per year on average, rivaling college tuition in some states. Middle-class workers, teachers, nurses, transit employees, small business owners are getting priced out of their own city. Even with two incomes, many families can't afford to stay in the neighborhoods they grew up in. Areas like Harlem, Astoria, and even parts of the Bronx have seen dramatic rent spikes due to gentrification. From 2020 to 2024, New York City lost more than 500,000 residents, many of them middle-income earners seeking affordability elsewhere. The cost of living index in NYC is now 87% higher than the national average. Groceries, utilities, public transit, it all adds up. A single MetroCard swipe is $2.90, and monthly passes cost $132. That's before you even buy a bagel. $1.75 to $3.50 if you skip the schmear. Meanwhile, billionaires keep buying penthouses in Manhattan while families share cramped one-bedrooms in outer boroughs. The economic divide is widening, and even with NYC's incredible job market, it's increasingly a city for the ultra-rich and the working poor, with little room in between. The Big Apple may never sleep, but the middle class is tired, and they're heading for the exits. Number 1. San Francisco, California. San Francisco, a city that once symbolized counterculture, innovation, and progressive dreams. But in 2025, it's become the poster child for middle-class extinction. The median home price here? An astronomical $1.2 million. Meanwhile, the median household income is around $96,000. That's a 12.5 to 1 home price to income ratio, one of the worst in the country. Even renting is mind-blowing. A basic one-bedroom apartment averages $3,400 per month, and that's not even in the heart of the city. Add groceries, which are 33% higher than the national average, and transportation, which averages $300 per month per commuter, and you've got a budget breakdown before payday. The tech boom that brought wealth also brought a widening gulf. While six-figure software engineers at Google and Salesforce live comfortably, teachers, first responders, and service workers are barely surviving. Some commute 2 hours from places like Tracy or Stockton just to work in the city. And despite its immense wealth, San Francisco has one of the highest homeless rates in the US, with over 8,000 unhoused residents. The city lost more than 31,000 people between 2020 and 2024, many of them middle-class families who simply couldn't afford to stay. Public schools are underfunded, crime and shoplifting have increased, and local businesses are closing due to insane rent hikes. Even iconic neighborhoods like the Mission District and Haight-Ashbury have been swallowed up by luxury condos and startup offices. San Francisco's middle class has been squeezed out by foreign investors, tech gentrification, and policy failure. And while the fog still rolls in beautifully over the Golden Gate Bridge, it now masks a crisis of affordability and inequality. It's not just expensive, it's economically unsustainable for the average family. In San Francisco, the middle class didn't just vanish, they were priced into extinction.